The principles of design is the way artists use the elements of art and construct it in their own way to make their artwork. So if you think of the elements of art as the ingredients of art, then the principles of designs are like the recipes for making art. If you think of the elements of art as Lego blocks, then the principles of design would be kind of like the instructions for your Lego set. In our school, we talk about these 7 principles of design: emphasis, balance, pattern, which is a part of repetition, contrast, proportion, movement, and unity. And I will explain each of these in the next section. In 3rd and 4th grade, we focus on emphasis, balance, pattern, and contrast. But I will also include proportion, movement, and unity at the end of this video. Emphasis is the focal point of a design. That is the part that stands out in your design or artwork. So if you look at this design right here with squares, which one stands out to you? A lot of people will probably say this biggest one will stand out because it's bigger than the rest. There's many ways to make things stand out. Size is one of them. Color is one of them. Because this color is different from the rest, this one stands out. Contrast is another one. This one's lighter than the rest, so it'll stand out as being different. Position can also create emphasis. This square looks closer, so it's going to stand out the most. Which part of this artwork by Alexander Calder stands out? Which part has emphasis? I would say that this orange and yellow circle stands out because it is brighter, it is bigger, and the shapes and colors are different from the rest. Which part is the emphasis of this artwork by Andy Goldsworthy? In this artwork, the middle black section really stands out because it is different from the soft gradations of the rest of this land art. This painting by Wassily Kandinsky has a lot going on, but there's a few things that really stand out to me. Is this big dark circle because the rest of the image is pretty light and this one is really different. But you might have thought of a different part as being the emphasis. And that is another interesting part of art, is that everybody might see something different. The next principle of design is balance. Balance is the way you distribute the weight of a design. And the weight of the design basically means where you put your drawings and your designs in your work. There are 3 types of balances that we talk about in 3rd and 4th grade. First is symmetry. Second is radial symmetry. And the third is asymmetry. Symmetry or symmetrical balance means that both sides of the images are the same, like it's reflecting on a mirror. So this image by Joseph Albers is symmetrical, and the line that separates the identical sides is called the line of symmetry. Symmetrical balance artwork has a really calm feeling to it. The next one is radial balance or radial symmetry. That means that things repeat around a point in the middle instead of a line in the middle. And it's kind of like a pizza slice that has the exact same toppings, or a pie slice or a cake slice. Asymmetry means each side of the image is different. So there is no line of symmetry. No matter where you put the line, it's not going to reflect like a mirror. And it shows a sense of movement. It's not as stable as symmetry or radial symmetry, which shows movement. When we talk about the weight in your design or artwork, again, that means where you put your things and also what kind of things you put in your design. One way you can change the weight of your design is by position. That is where you put your objects. Things that are towards the bottom of your page usually looks like they're heavier. Things that are bigger look like they're heavier. Things that are darker look heavier. And if there's many things grouped together, it could look heavier too. This one is bigger, but this one has a lot of them, so they both have about the same weight. The next principle of design is repetition. And in our school, we really focus on pattern when we talk about repetition. Repetition is regularly repeating things in a piece of art. Pattern is one way to describe repetition, and that is repeating things in a regular way. Rhythm is another type of repetition, where it might not repeat exactly the same, but it is still repeating to create visual movement. So these are exactly the same, which makes it pattern, and these are a little bit different, but still repeating and making movement, which is called rhythm. Again, at our school, when we talk about repetition, we focus on pattern. Patterns are elements repeating in a regular way. Here's an example of an Aeb pattern. If you think of the square as A and the circle as B, it's repeating A, B, A, B, A, B. This one is an Aeb pattern. Square, square, circle, which is AAB, AAB. ABC pattern would repeat three different things. So square is A, circle is B, and triangle is C, ABC, ABC. In art, oftentimes we don't just repeat the shapes over in a linear way like these examples, but we might repeat it over and over, filling up a space. So these are repeating shapes, making a pattern. This is artwork using a checkerboard pattern with repeating white and black squares. The next principle of design is contrast. Contrast is putting things that are very different next to each other to make each of them stand out. And you can create contrast with any of the elements of art that we talked about in previous videos. You can have contrast with color, yellow versus red-violet, they're very different colors. You can contrast lines, thick versus thin, curvy versus straight, they're different. You can create contrast with shapes, circle versus triangles. You can create contrast with value, light versus dark. You can create contrast with different kinds of textures. You can create contrast by using your space in different ways. This one's more spaced out, these ones are closer. And you can create contrast with forms, different types of forms, which are 3D shapes. Now, if you look at this artwork by Wassily Kandinsky, you can see that there are contrasting colors, different colors making it more interesting. This artwork by Romeo Brito also has different colors. They also contrast with patterns and different kinds of lines as well. Those are the 4 principles of design that we focus in 3rd and 4th grade, but I'm also going to be talking about the other 3 so that you guys feel familiar with these words when you move up to 5th and 6th grade. Proportion is the relationship between sizes in your artwork. So we talk about proportion a lot when we do our self-portraits. We talk about how the eyes, nose, mouth, and the head all have correct sizes that relate to each other, so you have to put it in the right place with the right sizes. And sometimes artists choose to use unrealistic proportion to make their artwork original, like this sculpture by Giacometti. Mona Lisa has a very accurate facial proportion. What do you think about this artwork? Do you think it's correct proportion? Do you think the artist chose to use incorrect proportion to make it interesting? I would say that this is definitely unrealistic proportion. This guy's teeny tiny compared to the rest of the other figures. Leonardo da Vinci, who painted the Mona Lisa in the beginning of these slides, is very famous for figuring out the correct proportions for the human face and the body. And some of his sketches explain all of these relationships that become our body and facial proportions. Movement is how an artwork shows how it looks like it's moving or actually is moving. There are 2 main types of movement in artwork. One is actual movement. Actual movement is artwork that actually moves. It is often called kinetic art, like this example by Alexander Calder. This is another example of kinetic art with actual movement. The next type of movement is implied movement. Implied movement is movement that looks like it's moving, but actually still. Like this artwork by Wassily Kandinsky. These lines are painted in a way that almost looks like it's moving and the eyes travel very interesting paths, but it's actually a painting, it's not moving. So that is called implied movement. The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh has implied movement with the way he painted the skies and the brush marks in the landscapes. The painting by Edgar Degas, The Dance Class, also has implied movement by painting dancers in motion. The final principle of design is unity. Unity is how all of the elements in your artwork work together. Unity can be made by making things close to each other so that they look like a group. You can create unity by having similar objects repeating. You can create unity by lining things up. If you look at this artwork by Louise Nevelson, all of these objects are very different, but they're painted with the same color, which creates unity. They look like a group working together.